everybody, it's Kerrie here at the North East Autism Society, and today we're going to be talking about telling your child about the diagnosis. And I have with me the wonderful Zoe King, who has popped on by to give us some tips from her perspective as an autistic young person. So Zoe, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm Zoe, I'm 11 years old. This is my mum.
I'm Nick. I have a name.
And Nick's not going to give you her age, so that's, woman's prerogative. Okay, so Zoe, I know this was a topic that you wanted to talk about, which is really good, because I get asked this a lot is, from parents will say to me, when should I tell my child that they're autistic? What would you respond to that?
Almost immediately after you've been told that they're autistic. I mean, when I was asleep, that's basically what Mum and Dad did. As we were walking back to the car, we were talking about how my brain was different and talking that I had autism, and I did more research into it, and I got into the brain, and I'm kind of doing a dance here.
And when Mum told you that you had a diagnosis of autism or you were autistic, how did that feel at first?
I can't remember.
It's quite a while ago now, isn't it?
It was like 5 years ago.
I think because your dad was diagnosed before you were, talking about autism in our house was very normal. Like it was a very normal thing to discuss and talk about positives and negatives and like how it influenced a dad's life.
The girl with the curly hair gave us a bit of a book about my dad for a little bit.
Yeah, so you had a good understanding of autism at 4-ish. And then obviously you were diagnosed just before you were 7. So I think from what I remember of telling you, you were just like, all right. And that was sort of about it. But I think maybe if you're in a household where you don't talk about autism because it's not part of your lives already, it might be more difficult, and maybe, that's where you can make a start, that you can start talking about autism and you can start talking about it in a positive manner in everyday conversations, and then it's not such a big deal. Yeah,
it's just you, isn't it? It's just about a difference in brain neurology, and that's not a bad thing, is it, at all? So
also one of the things I was told is that my brain is faster than 97% of the world. My dad was going on about like it can't really get much faster, so it must be the same speed. And I'm like, I bet they did it in alphabetical order.
So Zoe, do you think it's been helpful you knowing that you're autistic?
Definitely. I mean, look where it's got us. I probably would have never chose that if I didn't know.
What was that you were pointing to? Because I can't see on my screen.
It's
Zap advocacy.
Oh, Zap advocacy, yes. So would you say that you're quite proud to be autistic?
Definitely.
Because you knew so young, you've got your coping strategies all sort of lined up, you understand your needs, you understand, the bits that you find difficult.
One of the things was because we talked about autism like so positively, like it should be. I was doing research the other day because I was doing research for like the jigsaw, if anyone asked about us, and I was shocked to find how many people had negative representations of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's true, isn't it, Zoe? There's a lot of misunderstanding out there and a lot of negativity, which isn't helpful for anyone. And I think some of my families that I work with, their children, they don't see autism as a good thing. Some of them think that it means that, they're broken or there's something wrong with them. Is there any advice you'd have for them young people?
Don't listen to them. Just because like you have autism doesn't mean you're broken.
No.
and it's not who you are, it's just a part of you.
Yeah, I think what's really sounds like been helpful for you is obviously Dad. I know your mum talks always very positive, so you've always been around that positive discussion really about autism, which is good, isn't it? Because for some people, they can have, like what you were saying about things on the internet, if people are just looking on the internet, a lot of that information they might be getting might be quite negative.
Or not true.
Yeah.
I think as well, the diagnosis process, you talk so much about what they're not doing and where they're not developing, and where they're not in line with the rest of their peers. And it's quite a negative experience in some ways.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of positivity out there. There's a lot of really fabulous autistic children and adults.
Yeah, definitely. Zoe, I know you have contact with some other autistic people. Do you think that that's useful?
Definitely.
Why is it useful, do you think?
Getting other perspectives and other people who have had it, and maybe if they're even older than us. It's also good for advice. I mean, we were talking about going back to school. We were talking about a lot of stuff. About secondary school and how it was tough for Dad.
I think, like, if you look at things like Happy Faces, it's good to have sort of peers that are similar to you because you're going through similar issues. I think it's like anything in life, though. You find people who are like yourself, don't you?
Yeah, but you find a community, don't you? You know, that's why. So some of the families I work with, they'll go to groups for families that have autistic children, and likewise I set groups up for autistic children for that reason, because
there was a scientific experiment where they had neurotypical children in one room, neurodiverse children in another, and then a mixture of them in between, and then they played the game of Chinese whispers, and the singular neurotypicals and the singular neurodiverse people got the best ones, but the mixed didn't go so well.
Yes. I've heard of that experiment, and that just shows, doesn't it, that everybody has, there's nobody broken. The problem doesn't lie with one person or one group of people, so to speak, i.e. autistic people. That was about communication as well, wasn't it? The fact that we all have difficulties and differences in communication. If nobody...
A lot of research.
Well, I'd love to hear about that more one day, Zoe, but for now I'm going to let you go because I know you're a very busy lady. For viewers that haven't seen Zoe before, please check out Zap Advocacy. She's going to be doing, she's one to watch, this one. But remember, you knew me first, Zoe, okay, when you're rich and famous. Is that all right? Right, I'll see you soon, Zoe. Bye. Bye, Nick.